Sean Strickland's coach Eric Nicksick had some harsh words to say in the media after Sean's loss to Dricus Du Plessis. We're reacting to it this time on Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to Fighting with Friends, the undisputed African fighting podcast, champion of the world. With me today, ladies and gentlemen, the reigning defending undisputed vegan champion of the world. That is, of course, Brother Gaia. What's up, Brother Gaia?
Back here, bro. Back again.
Back in it. And so, Brother Gaia, we're doing something a little bit different today. Of course, we are expanding into the media side of the game now. And, of course, one of the top stories this week has been Eric Nicksick's words that he's had for Sean Strickland on the Ariel Awani show. In case you haven't heard, ladies and gentlemen, just a few highlights that stood out to me. As you can see, words like uninspiring. Sean was sleepwalking through the fight. I thought this was pretty telling. It was tough, man. It was tough. It was tough 25 minutes to travel all the way out there. Let's not forget this was a title fight. I take these title fights very seriously. This is Eric Nicksick. And I don't know, I was disappointed, man. I was disappointed with the whole entire outcome, with the whole fight as a process. I just thought it was kind of flat. So yeah, that kind of summed it up. You also mentioned what was kind of funny, because this has become a bit of a meme in recent times about the jab and the tip that Sean Strickland uses in his fights. And then just the final point before I give it to you, BG, was just the summary years that basically Sean needs to evaluate what he wants to do. If he wants to fight for titles, or if he's just doing it for the money, because from what Eric Nicksick has said, he's clearly still wanting to compete with the best and fight for titles. So, BG, your instant reaction to this, bro? What can you tell us?
Firstly, my instant reaction to it is it's amazing how that this caused a massive blow up on the internet. Everyone seems to be losing their mind over this. I personally feel like what was said between the two guys, there's nothing wrong with it. This is going to happen. There's so many gyms where this is happening, and we don't really see it because this is where the most important part comes into it. The other coaches don't bring it out to public domain. We don't get to see that side of the gyms. We don't get to see it. But I can guarantee you right now, almost all the gyms are dealing with fighters like this or coaches like this, and this is happening in and around the gyms. So I'm not surprised that this is the case. You could see how Eric Nicksick was furious about Sean Strickland during the fight, in between the rounds. You could see he was angry. He was like, "Come on, you need to fight back," and Strickland just couldn't do anything about it. Strickland also came out earlier this morning, and he gave his response to Nicksick, and you can hear in the tone of voice of Sean Strickland, and also the how he's dismissive whenever he mentions Eric's name. It sounds to me like they're actually going to part ways from here. You know what I mean? I think you need to mute yourself, AD. I can hear myself coming through. Yeah, I think it's safe to say, based on Sean Strickland's response to Nicksick, that they're going to part ways from here. And again, I'm going to say this: I don't think what Nicksick had said is wrong. I think it's fair for him to be honest and be truthful about how he feels. And likewise to Strickland, the way he responded was also fair and honest. It's in the public domain, so it's going to cause some kind of hysteria. It's going to cause some kind of banter. And I like what Charles Sonnen said about it as well. Eric Nicksick should have kind of kept it under wraps, even though he felt his way and it's right. He could have addressed with Sean Strickland inside of the gym in their own fighters' meetings, because it is kind of personal if you think about it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's their work, our entertainment. So we have to respect it as fans, and we're commenting on these things. But at the end of the day, that is a business move for these gentlemen. If they part ways, that means the contract is finished with them. That means Nicksick has to go and find another champion to coach for more paychecks, and Sean Strickland has to go find a new coach to coach him so he can get back into the title race. So a lot of these things happen. So I do think that kind of conversation should have happened behind closed doors and not sort of in the public domain. However, Ariel Awani, being the journalist that he is, he did load those questions in a way that kind of forced Nicksick to answer it the way he did. If you watch it back very carefully, Ariel Awani didn't really give Nicksick a choice but to answer the questions in that manner. It's almost like he phrased it in a way as if, just tell us how upset you are with Strickland, really. Just tell us the truth, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It had that kind of weight to the question, and I thought it was a bit unfair. And so he kind of gave Nicksick no choice but to sort of speak about how he feels about the whole situation. So, in a nutshell, Eddie, my personal opinion about it is that it's a bit sad, because I do like Nicksick. I think he's a fantastic coach. I do think he's a great coach. I don't think he's the greatest of this time, of this generation. He comes from coaching football into MMA. He's a great coach, but he didn't win any championships in MMA, so we can't really put him on that bracket as Ras Sahabi, Craig Jackson, and all the top coaches that have won titles with their fighters. He's a fantastic coach. He won the one title with Strickland, but then they didn't defend it after that. And that's not a bad. That's not me throwing shade on Nicksick. I mean, he must be a very good coach to coach a champion to get to that place already. I just think that one thing that Nicksick did say was he felt that the ego battle with Strickland in this camp was very difficult because it was hard to get him motivated during this camp. And if you actually listen to Sean Strickland's response, he almost admits that. He even said it was a difficult camp. He was struggling to actually just get into it. He was dealing with his emotions worse than he's ever had in any card or any fight he's had in his life. So I think there might have been dynamics that was building up in the fight between the two of them in particular that probably wasn't very healthy. And that we don't know, which I think is probably what's resulting in this decision. Maybe this decision was actually a foregone conclusion before the fight. Because Strickland did come into the fight game. He did come into the fight against Dricus for a second time, a different kind of Strickland. He looked almost like he was a bit scared of DDP, and he didn't want to get into almost any sort of mic wars with him. And he kept on avoiding a lot of the conversations around what was the training regime like for this fight camp. What did you do for this fight? He bounced around that question by saying, "Oh, communist this and communist that." I was like, where is this man's mind at? Are you even here? So I kind of feel like this was actually brewing for a while between the two of them, and I think it's the best decision for both men for the future of their careers.
Yeah, it's a strange one, bro, because it did feel like, especially with the discovery of the staph infection or staph infection, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but yeah, with the discovery of the infection, Sean Strickland decided to wear a sleeveless, a cut sleeveless top and expose it. So it almost felt like he was trying to have this bolting excuse in case he lost.
Yes.
He had this whole mentality of I'm gonna lose. So my question, and I really hate that we have to talk about this side of it, but do you think that all this controversy around Sean Strickland, starting with the infection, now with his coach in the media, is this diminishing Dricus's performance at all on a global stage? Do you think people are always going to look for reasons to not give him the credit because he doesn't look as lovely as they want him to look? So do you think that this is going to kind of now aggravate that and kind of give people an out to say, oh, no, Dricus isn't that good. He beat a Sean Strickland who was never there to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
It's a fantastic question because I think that is what's happening on the internet right now. However, it's largely the American fans that are actually singing that song about that DDB fought against a sort of depleted Sean Strickland. He fought against a Strickland that wasn't necessarily there. Strickland also did say in his response to Nicksick that he was sick. He did go through the staph infection. He did get it, but it was much earlier in the camp when he got it. So it wasn't as it's perceived to be so close to the fight. It was much earlier in the camp when he got that. So he was already off the antibiotics at the time when he came to the fight. So he was healthy. He was prepared for the fight. I just think it was a mental thing. And for me personally, I don't think it diminishes Dricus's performance because the rest of the media has already moved on to Dricus versus Khamzat. They've already moved on to that. So not even talking about, Strickland was so weak that Dricus looked that great. It's more like Dricus won the fight. Now let's put him against the next best thing, Khamzat. So that seems to be the next conversation already on top of this madness. I think what's coming out of this conversation with Nicksick and Sean Strickland is the beef between the two of them. That's been sort of the headlines more so than the fact that Sean Strickland did go through staph infection.
So, I mean, I don't really have too much more to say on the matter for myself. But do you think that Sean Strickland is going to make another run for the title?
The way the middleweight is shaped, and his status and his ranking, if he beats Akayo Baralho next, that changes everything again.
Yeah,
it changes everything for Sean Strickland again. Because now you're beating that contender who was essentially in the same position as Yamavov, just one fight away from doing that. So in that one fight could potentially be Sean Strickland or Whittaker. So my point is that Strickland is still in that round robin. He's still in that basket of top contenders. And if he beats another top contender next, which he most likely can do that. You can easily say, listen, give me a top 3 guy. Give me Yamavov again, man. But, and then next thing you know, he's fighting for a title.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that in terms of the way the division is kind of set up. But in terms of his headspace and just ability, from that standpoint, do you think he's got what it takes to make another run at it?
It's going to be tough, AD. It's going to be very tough, because considering now that his head coach is no longer going to be head coaching him, that means he has to find a new camp, find a new team. That's new training partners. Everything's going to change for him now, so he's going to have to rethink the title run's going to be difficult. Let's just say that right now. For him to get back there is going to be hard, because there's far more challenges now, other than Dricus just beating me for a second time. It's now no coach. You have to find a new gym. You have to get your mind straight. He speaks about his mind wasn't right for this fight card. He speaks about it. Go watch that video where he responds to Nicksick, and he speaks about the fact that his mind he just wasn't ready. He wasn't in the right space. And I think that's what he has to focus on now before taking another fight. He's just getting all those things in a row. Get the next gym, get the next coaching staff. Train well, get a new game plan, and then look for another opponent. I think the UFC is going to keep him in their back pocket, because he sells fights, bro. So yeah, I can foresee him fighting against a Baralho next, probably. I want him to fight Whittaker, but he's probably going to get a Baralho next. And then he wins that fight, we can see Strickland making some noise again. But it's going to take a while before we see it happen. Maybe later in this year, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I really, to be honest with you, this whole fight, and again, there's been a lot of controversy around it, but for me, it just kind of showed the world exactly who Sean Strickland is, bro. Like, when you talk about jab and tip, that's all he has done, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leading up to his title fight.
Yeah.
Title fight was a fluke, bro. He got it because Dricus couldn't take the fight due to injury. Got his shot, play, took it. But since then, lost very close decision against Paulo Costa, who never fights these days. Was a name like maybe 2-3 years back. Lost a very close fight against him, doing the same thing. So I just feel like he's been exposed now, Brian. Like, for me, I just don't see. It's always going to be an awkward style to fight against, but I just don't see the elite guys not having an answer to that, especially after Dricus showed him up like that.
The difference with that, though, is the other contenders aren't Dricus. Whittaker, Izzy, Imavov, Baralho, they're not DDP. They don't fight the same way. They don't have DDP's attributes. Even being real honest, you know what I mean? I think Khamzat's the only one really that I could say they could go against what's his name? Sean Strickland and do what DDP did to him. You know what I mean? But I think
sorry, yeah. No, I was just going to say in terms of the game plan, man.
Yes, I know what you're saying. You can game plan against. It's one-dimensional, but it worked. If we're being realistic, who has stopped that style in this division? Alex Pereira has beat Strickland and DDP. You know what I mean? Cannonier's got a razor close decision win over him. So what that tells me is, even though their style is so easy to look at and break down, the DDP expose him, but you have to fight like DDP to beat him. And I don't know if the other guys can fight like DDP to beat him. I'm watched Baralho fight. He loves to box. He loves his hands. He only wrestles when the opponent is really tired. And I don't know if he can grapple against. I don't know if he can actually just straight up box against Strickland. Imavov, on the other hand, lost to Strickland, but he's on a tear since then. So he may be able to do something a little bit different. But I mean, I'm not trying to argue against you. It's just that the style is difficult. It's a difficult style to fight. And DDP showcased that that's what you have to do to beat it. I just wonder if the other fighters are on DDP's level to be able to do it. That's my only concern there. My only argument against it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fair comment. But just to your point there, I think when was the loss against Cannonier? How long ago was that?
That was 2023, I think.
So that wasn't even that long ago. So the thing is, if you're not beating Cannonier, you know what I mean? Even if it was a very close decision, it kind of speaks a little bit to your ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to say that you can't be found out, because Cannonier, as tough as he is, he's not.
2022 was that fight? December 2022.
Okay, fair, yeah. I mean, he probably has improved since then, but just to say, when he came up against Cannonier, he lost as well. He lost to an Imavov who is not the same Imavov we're seeing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he beat the Imavov.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not the same guy. So I don't know. I think for me, I just feel like he's been exposed now, and I don't think he's gonna have much of a future at a title run. That's just my opinion. You guys can let us know in the comments your thoughts, of course. But BG, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but my final thoughts is I would like for everyone to just kind of calm down about this kind of thing, because if we actually dig into the exchange between the two of them, it's very professional. Actually, it's very normal for this to happen in any sport. So I think people need to sort of let off and not ride this headline wave as if there's some kind of beef between the two guys, because there really isn't any beef. It's just a professional decision between two athlete, a coach and an athlete, saying, "Listen, it seems to be that our views and our perspective on the sport and where we want to go seems to be different right now, and that means we're probably going to have to part ways." Simple as that. That's just my perception in the end. And I do agree with you. I do think that Sean Strickland's going to be 34 years old this year. I do think he's going to have a difficult time getting back to that top.
Nicely done, BG. And yeah, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, of course, let us know in the comments your thoughts on Sean Strickland and Eric Nicksick. But as always, if you have made it this far in the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for the continued love and support, and we'll continue to bring you as much fight content as we can next time on Fighting with Friends.